What's up, guys? Another video, another something, because I can't choose what kind of channel I want this to be. But recently I have found a passion, not a passion, I found a liking to making these toy reviews or overviews or whatever you want to call them. But this time this video is going to be a little bit longer because it's more than one thing, and I want to use my voice to tell you about these things. And if you couldn't tell by the title, you blind motherfucker, we are doing the Wave 4 Spartan Collection series by Jazwares, but we're not doing the full wave because I can't find that goddamn samurai. But before we get into the initial review, here's a look at what these fucking figures look like. Ooh, yes, very pretty. Halo 2 Chief, Enigma in June. Halo 2 Chief looks like a fucking glow stick. Let's go. Articulation. Articulation is a weird one for this guy because it is very mid. His helmet articulation, head articulation, swivel side to side, perfectly fine. He can't really look up or down. I was able to loosen it eventually off camera. And of course I never recorded it because I'm a fucking dumbass. Arm articulation is pretty standard. Nothing crazy, nothing sticking out. If you own one Spartan series collection figure, you own them all when it comes to arm articulation. His torso, which we're about to get to, was very stiff. The scary part is, out of all of Wave 4 so far, he has the most flexible torso, and that's really fucking scary because it's stiff. His torso is, he can barely move his torso. Anyways, when it comes to leg articulation, he can barely do a split. It's funny because the other figures, their splits are more closer to an actual split than Chief's. His knee does this weird fucking thing that I don't think knees should be doing. It's very not knee activity of a knee. With all the other figures in this wave, their knees look more normal, but they all do this weird knee thing. It's just Chief's is the most exaggerated out of all of them for some reason. But yeah, very weird, very creepy. His feet are very wonky. It takes a little adjusting to getting used to because I don't know, his feet were just a little loose for me, so balancing him was a hassle in the beginning, but I was able to eventually nail it down. He has the toe articulation, which is standard. You can't really mess it up. It's on not a swivel, it's just up and down. I think it's swivel, I'm stupid. But yeah, that is articulation for our boy. So when it comes to weapons that do come with this figure, we do get two Halo 2 Anniversary modeled SMGs with the nice gray and the black with all the detailing on it. These weapons do look really cool, and I really hope that Jazwares produces more of these and we get more Halo 2 figures overall. But one issue that is presented with these weapons, are that the peg holes are on the same side. A clip of why that's an issue is about to show up. But just, you know, overall solid weapons on Jazwares' end, really cool. But back to the peg holes situation. This is why it's an issue. You see one side, it looks fine, and right there it's just it's backwards because the peg hole is on the same side as the other one. But it is very awkward if you are trying to display your Chief with the SMGs on his thighs. So for hands, there are 7 hands that come with this figure and for the entirety of Wave 4, and spoiler alert, all the hand models for Wave 4 are exactly the same. So there are 2 trigger finger gun holding hands with, with the one finger out for the trigger, 2 closed fists, 2 holding hands, and 1 tactical call out hand, the one where it's like 2 fingers pointed up as if he's doing a call out. So that's the hands for Wave 4. So when it comes to size comparisons, we have on the right Wave 1 Infinite Chief, and on the left we do have 1000 Toys Master Chief. Just a little size comparison, 1000 Toys Chief is smaller than both of them, and obviously Halo 2 and Infinite Chief are the same height. Just a little comparison for you. So my final thoughts on Halo 2 Chief and my final rating is 6.5 out of 10, which is unfortunate because this, besides the samurai I was most ambitious for, was this figure for the entire wave. Things I didn't like, so we'll go over cons then pros, I guess. So the cons, armor color way too bright. No idea how Jazwares saw that shade of green and thought, yeah, this is it. I know this is an opinion that most of us do have in the toy community of Halo. The knee articulation, very weird, not organic looking, which is weird because I looked back at some of the earlier waves, like the figures from like wave 1 and 2, and they had knee articulation just as good, if not better, while the articulation was like the knees looked organic. I could tell that there was a complete difference in how they're making the knees, which also plays a role into it. So I don't know if Jazwares had to cut costs or something on production, and as a result, the quality and articulation for these figures is, degrading. The peg holes in the SMGs I feel like that's something that could have been easily avoided, and just Jazwares was just mass producing these things, just kept punching the holes in the same spot rather than thinking out, someone's gonna put both SMGs on the thighs of Chief, so let's do that right. But nonetheless, that's an issue. The torso, I'm fucking scared to touch that thing sometimes because I feel like his torso is going to snap and break. The head, like I said earlier, I was able to fix it, so all good there, but it was just initially I was scared to move his head because I thought I was gonna break and snap something off. So getting into the pros, the things I do like, the model, obviously it's Halo 2 Chief. The armor looks great, it resembles him almost perfectly, besides the color of the armor getting in the way. I'm so happy they're bringing back the reflective, just shiny visor. That is something that wave 3 fucking killed me on, was the non reflective visors. They brought that back. I'm so happy. The weapon modeling was also fucking awesome with this figure. The figures looked the weapons, the SMGs, they looked very nice, despite it being made out of that cheap Jazwares rubber that the Halo weapons are now being made out of. So yeah, just overall the armor just nailing that Halo 2 Chief look. The reflective visor and the SMG models were just perfect. So June is the next figure that we will be looking at. Head articulation, he's got the swivels up and down, not so much with the flesh head. Arm articulation, just like Chief, you have one Spartan series, you have them all when it comes to arm articulation. Leg articulation was a little more solid, which I did like, even though Chief's wasn't. June's is, and as a sniper he should be a little more agile, so I was happy that his leg articulation did come out better. His knees, they don't do the weird knee thing that Chief was doing, not as much at least, because his legs are thicker than Chief's, something I have realized with the Reach figures. Torso, barely move at all. You can do side to side, but front to back, not really. And that's because of his back accessories, which we'll see later. Then here I am knocking over the camera like a fucking idiot, trying to put on June's helmet. But here's a 360 view of the helmet and his flesh head. Pretty solid sculpts for both, unlike Cat's head sculpt, which fucking made her look like a man. Glad that the reflective visors are back. I did mention this with Halo 2 Chief, but as you can see, here it is on June. Pretty solid. June's tattoo, can't really mess up June. He's a bald man, so yeah. Here we have the sniper rifle that does come with June. This is a copy and paste model of the Infinite sniper rifle that does come in the Mark 5B, the orange and purple one that came with wave 3, which was a really interesting choice in colors. But anyways, the only difference is the color variation. Here is a photo for you of the difference. You can see that the scope has this military green on it. One complaint I do have about the sniper rifle is that it's made of that cheap Jazwares rubber, so those, as you can see, the barrel is a little flimsy. Otherwise, it's a sniper rifle. I just kind of wish it was a little more solid, but can only ask for so much. So almost forgot to show you the problems with the sniper rifle. So here we are with that really flimsy cheap rubber that Jazwares is using for the sniper rifle. Seeing it makes it all bendy and whatnot, and it's just annoying. And that issue I did mention before, the torso, is the back accessories that limits the torso, but it also does not allow the sniper rifle to be mounted on June's back. And here we have the Magnum. This is the Reach Magnum. It does have a white stripe on it, which I don't know why they're doing that, because I don't recall there being white stripes on the Magnums in Reach. But anyways, pretty solid, representation of the Reach Magnum. Unlike the sniper, it's really sturdy despite it being made out of that Jazwares rubber. Overall, just a solid Magnum model for a Halo toy. Yeah. Okay, so the knife, and as you can tell, the background is different because it turns out when you have a busy background, shit's harder to focus. So yeah, my Gunpla background, fuck that, I guess. But anyways, here's the knife that comes with June. Solid piece of black plastic. Not really much more to elaborate on. Yeah. Then here we have the 7 hands, same exact as Chief's, but the armor plating is a little bit different to match June's armor. So not really much to elaborate on besides, just 7 hands. You already know what they are because I said it back with Halo 2 Chief. So yeah, words, waiting for the clip to run out. Words. So my final thoughts on the figure. So I would have to give June a solid 7.5 out of 10. I don't want to give him a 7. I think that's a little low, but I think an 8 is a little too high for him. Things I did like was the modeling. The modeling for June was like just nearly spot on, really accurate. The coloring for his armor is way more accurate than Halo 2 Chief's coloring to Halo 2 Chief. The articulation is pretty much spot on, besides the torso being limited due to the backpack accessories on his armor. Overall, just a well-rounded figure with a few minor tweaks. One, besides, the backpack accessory limiting the torso articulation, was his shamag, or the netting around his neck. It's the same color as the armor, and it's just this solid green. I feel like Jazwares could have blackwashed it or added some texturing to it, because it just feels like it needs that rather than this green blob around his neck. The sniper rifle, I wish we got the Halo Reach sniper rifle rather than the Infinite one. Not saying I dislike the Halo Infinite sniper rifle, I really do like that design. It's just my favorite model out of all the sniper rifles in Halo. It probably has to go to the Halo Reach sniper rifle. And seeing that this is a Halo Reach figure, you'd figure, that's the kind of rifle he would get. But hey, you win some, you lose some. Overall, just a well-rounded figure with a few minor tweaks. On to the next motherfucker. So, Spartan Enigma. Articulation is pretty solid for this figure. The arms, if you own one, you own them all when it comes to Spartan Collection series. Just standard arm articulation at this point. His helmet is very stiff, you'll see in just a minute. I was barely able to get the helmet to move at all because of how chunky the helmet and the chest piece are. As you can see, I'm barely getting him to even look side to side, let alone look up and down. But it is what it is. Torso articulation very stiff, even more stiff than June's. So stiff, and so I broke off the upper half. I didn't break, I just took it apart. The ball joint was still intact and everything. I just think it's weird because June had the back attachment to restrict his torso mobility, where I don't know what's restricting Spartan Enigma. Leg articulation is pretty solid. There's a thigh attachment that does limit the splits on Spartan Enigma. But yeah, knee articulation is pretty solid. It looks more organic than Halo 2 Chiefs. Can't get the butt kick nearly as high as not Halo 2 Chief, June. But overall, the knee articulation is pretty solid, despite not being able to get a full split and the butt kick. So for the first weapon that does come with Spartan Enigma, we do have the plasma pistol. This is the Halo Infinite model. It's just a dark purple, darkish gray with the green, that classic plasma pistol green. It's a pretty solid model. Not really much to go on about. It's just a plasma pistol. But I will be comparing it to the Wave 1 plasma pistol that came with the Mark 5B, as you can see right here. The one that came with the Mark 5B used white instead of gray, which is really weird, and it does make it stick out. I don't know why they went for that, but just so you have it, here's the comparison between the Wave 4 and Wave 1 plasma pistol. I don't really have much else to go on about, so we'll go on to the next weapon. So for the next weapon, we have the Ravager, which is the worst weapon in Infinite. But besides that, this is just a big hunk of plastic that's modeled really well to look like the Ravager, which, though it's a really shitty gun, it looks awesome, and that's really all I have to say. There is one problem this gun does propose, but I will show you that later. So the problem that does come with the Ravager, I know I said later, but I'm showing you now, is fuck you. But I broke the fucking shoulder trying to pose him with the Ravager. I guess this fucking figure isn't Ravager friendly, even though he fucking comes with it. But now he can pose. He can do the pose I want him to do, but at the cost of a broken shoulder. And I'm sad, and it's just bullshit, and it just don't break your toy. So moving on to the hands that do come with Enigma, just like I said with June, they're the exact same that come with 2 Chief and June. The only difference is the armor plating on the hands. This is Spartan Enigma, so of course the hands are gonna cater to Spartan Enigma's armor. That's pretty much all I got, so let's move on to my final thoughts on the figure itself. Alright, final verdict time on Spartan Enigma. If I have to rate this figure, I'm going to give him 2 ratings. Reason why is because if I broke this figure entirely, like I was just way too rough on this figure and I broke it, I want to give this figure an 8 out of 10. It's probably my favorite figure out of the 3. I will go into that when I go into the pros of the Spartan. But if this broke because of Jazwares' lack of quality control on their products, I want to give this guy probably a 7, maybe a 6.5. Just because, if you're going to have a Spartan hold this kind of weapon, you'd figure they would not break. It just seems a little weird to me. But besides that, things I do not like about this figure, besides its shoulder breaking, is the lack of articulation in the head and the torso. As you saw earlier, his torso popped in half, well, the body popped in half because of how stiff his torso was, and then how limited the head is due to how chunky the armor is. Granted, it's a design issue rather than that being on Jazwares' end. Things I do like about this figure is the weapons. It's nice to see that Jazwares is giving Spartans not just UNSC weapons, but we're getting Banished and Covenant weapons. Another thing I did like was aesthetics. This is probably my favorite looking figure out of the entire wave. And I think that's pretty much all I could think of. So let's just get to the final overview and outro of the video. So my final verdict on this wave: it's a really solid wave. I'm not going to rate it out of 10 because I don't think any of the waves have been perfect, or just, but all the waves are solid, and this is another solid one. We do have a great selection of figures. We have a Halo 2 figure, another Noble Team figure, and a brand new armor from Infinite. We have a great selection of weapons, 2 new weapons, 1 weapon we haven't seen in a while, and then another power weapon, which I'm referring to the sniper rifle. The Magnum, I like Magnums, but I'm not gonna preach or build it up to be something great. But besides a solid selection of figures and a solid selection of weapons for this wave. There are a lot of things that do need to be tweaked out when it comes to the figures themselves, and it comes to articulation, planning, weapon peg holes, and just color design and whatnot. But besides that, I'm very excited for Wave 5, and here's a leaked image of Wave 5. Credit to the dude on Instagram. I will put that shit in the description. I don't remember his profile name off the top of my head. But besides that, I do have to review the Samurai. I do need to find him first, but once I get my hands on the Samurai, I will review him. If I get Wave 5 before the Samurai, I will not review Wave 5. I will hold Wave 5 hostage in my fucking room until I get a hold of that Samurai. But, besides the Samurai, the only other figure I have in store at the moment before Wave 5 comes out is the 2-pack with Halo CE and Infinite Chief. I'm just waiting for, not Best Buy, GameStop to get the figure to my door. But besides all that information, like I said, just one more time, really solid wave. And I do hope you enjoyed this review. I will post a review of the Samurai after making that really long threat. But yeah, I will see you all in another video. I hope you enjoyed. I'm not going to ask for you to hit the bell or comment. All I do ask, though, is that you subscribe and like if you do enjoy the video. Just those two things. I really want to get this channel up off the ground. But anyways, I'm just beating a dead horse now. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in another video.